When Admiral Liara Chen first received the SOS, a chill ran through her despite the warmth of Earth's command center. The message had arrived on every channel at once. A distant colony on the edge of known space begged for help. Liara read. The plea again. Admiral's code forbidding hesitation. The signal spoke of darkness closing in, of lives at stake. In that moment, she knew conventional fleets would arrive too late. She glanced at the holoscreen, showing the Deathworlders. A Bluma trio of Blackhawks, circling an open handand, felt both dread and hope. Only they had the strength and speed to reach the colony in time. Across Earth's sprawling training grounds, Commander Pavel Rourke stood beneath a blazing sky, his Deathworlder uniform crisp against the dust. He had faced horrors on remote battlefields, earned his reputation by surviving worlds no human body should endure. Yet this mission felt different. Not vengeance, not conquest, but salvation. When he learned of the SOS, Pavel gathered his team without question. Each Deathworlder moved with quiet precision, their eyes reflecting a shared resolve. They were often called monsters for their rugged appearances and deadly skills, but today they would show the galaxy their true purpose. Lieutenant Tow. Tanato checked the cargo hold of the flagship Aurora's Edge, loading medical supplies and food rations into sleek containers. She tapped a console, confirming that every pod was stocked with non-lethal drones and energy nets designed to rescue rather than harm. Miko had grown up in a farming colony herself, watching crops fail under harsh suns. She remembered the taste of fear when her world's defenses faltered. Now she prepared to give back the safety she once yearned for. Her hands trembled only slightly as she finished her final inspection. In the council chamber, Earth's leaders argued fiercely. Civilian envoys warned that sending Deathworlders would terrify the colonists. Military officers urged caution. Ambassador Celine Ortiz rose to speak, her voice calm but firm. She reminded them of Pavel's record. Countless lives saved, missions completed without unnecessary bloodshed. The SOS left no choice. Earth would unleash its Deathworlders, not as weapons of war, but as guardians. As Celine finished, the room fell silent. Single votes sealed their fate. Pavel's squad would depart at once. On the deck of the Aurora's Edge, Pavel addressed his team. He spoke softly, each word measured and clear. "We carry hope," he said. "We stand for the helpless." His gaze swept over the faces around him. Miko, her eyes bright with purpose. Sergeant Ria Volk, whose steady hands could patch wounds as easily as reload rifles. And Dr. Amari Das, scientist and empath, whose knowledge of alien cultures would guide them among strangers. Pavel's voice caught on the word hope, but he steadied himself. He trusted these people with his life, and they trusted him with theirs. As the engines hummed to life, the crew felt the steady pulse of Earth's power beneath their feet. Through the viewport, the blue-green orb receded into darkness, replaced by clouds of stardust and distant suns. Miko pressed a hand to the glass, imagining the colony waiting on the other side. Fear and excitement mingled in her chest. Dr. Das stood beside her, silent but supportive, offering a gentle smile. They both wondered what they would find, relief or ruin, gratitude or suspicion, yet neither doubted their mission. They were bound by something greater than fear. In the quiet hum of hyperspace, the Aurora's Edge flew faster than any warship dared. Pavel found a moment alone in his quarters to remember why he had become a Deathworlder. As a youth, he had survived a crash on a volcanic planet, saved only by others who risked everything to pull him from molten rock. He bore the scars still, both on his body and in his heart. Now, he would give others the same chance he had been given. He closed his eyes, promising the lost colony that Earth's fiercest warriors would arrive with open hands, not clenched fists. When the signal grew stronger, echoing through every console on the bridge, a silent vow passed among the crew. The end of their journey was near. Ahead lay unknown dangers and the fragile lives that clung to hope. Together, they would face whatever darkness awaited and prove that even in the depths of space, humanity's light could never be extinguished. Asterisk Commander Pavel Rourke stood on the training plane as dawn broke. The sky, a soft gold above jagged rock formations. His team of Deathworlders moved in formation, each step echoing purpose. Despite their fearsome name, today their drills focused on rescue work. Pavel watched Lieutenant Mikko Tanato launch a drone that unfolded into a small medical unit. The machine hovered with gentle hum, its lights blinking as it scanned for injured test subjects. Across the field, Dr. Amari Das instructed volunteers in alien languages and customs, preparing them to meet unfamiliar faces with respect. Every movement on the plane spoke of a mission beyond mere combat. In the Earth Defense Council's command room, ambassadors and generals debated the best approach. Ambassador Celine Ortiz argued for diplomacy first, reminding the council that the colonists might fear the Deathworlders. General Marcus Vance countered, stating that speed and strength were crucial. Pavel had requested a small group of cultural liaisons to travel with his squad, and Celine won that point. She sat quietly beside the council table, refreshing her notes on the colonies, traditions, and greetings. She knew a single wrong gesture could shatter trust. Her calm presence reminded the others that victory would come not from weapons, but from understanding. Back at the Aurora's edge, technicians worked on the ship's medical bay. Dr. Das oversaw the installation of field treatment stations, modular pods that could expand into full triage units. She ran her fingers along the smooth metal surfaces, imagining wounded colonists lying on the soft mats inside. Her heart pounded at the thought of pain so far from home. She had chosen this mission to heal, to offer comfort where terror had ruled. The bay's lights glowed warmly, a beacon in the ship's cold corridor. She hoped that one day these lights would chase away real fear for someone in need. Lieutenant Mikko Tanato, trained with energy nets and containment coils on a simulation drone that mirrored the size of a small creature. She threw the net with careful precision, watching it wrap around the drone's limbs without causing damage. Each attempt grew more accurate until the drone floated harmlessly in midair. Mikko remembered her home colony's crops, battered by storms and pests. She knew the power of gentle strength, the lightest touch that could guide even a wild creature to safety. When she finally snapped the drone's battery offline, she felt a thrill of pride. This skill would save lives, not take them. Sergeant Ria Volk worked with the weapons techs to convert standard-duty rifles into non-lethal pulse blasters. Each weapon would fire charged bursts that stunned attackers rather than maiming them. Ria tightened the final screws on a blaster and examined its barrel with a critical eye. She imagined the shockwaves rippling through hostile automata, freezing them in place long enough for repair teams to arrive. Her calloused hands had known rage once, but now she sought mercy. She filed away memories of past battles, replacing them with visions of wounded children rescued from harm. This mission, she vowed, would leave no lasting scars in the simulator dome. Pavel's squad practiced hyperspace jumps and emergency evacuations. They circled holographic displays showing the SOS coordinates and possible threat vectors. Pavel guided them through each scenario, reminding them to keep calm under pressure. His voice was steady as he described fires in the colony's main habitat and smoke choking its corridors. He watched as his team deployed drones and rescue pods with swift grace, felt pride, tempered by worry. Any mistake could cost lives. Still, he trusted his people to act with skill and compassion when the moment came. At midday, the team gathered for a briefing under the ship's observation deck. Through the viewport, the colony's star flickered in the distance. Tiny but urgent, Ambassador Ortiz stood before a hologram of the colony's terrain. Red desert plains cut by rocky canyons. She pointed to oases and freshwater springs, explaining how the colonists had adapted to this harsh world. Her voice carried the warmth of a teacher as she described local festivals, communal meals, and the significance of certain hand gestures. The Deathworlders listened closely, nodding as they absorbed every detail. They would be visitors in a fragile home and must act with care as evening settled. The team shared a quiet meal in the communal mess. Steam rose from trays of simple stew and crusty bread. Conversations drifted from technical checks to hopes for the mission. Miko quietly told Dr. Dawes of her memories of home. Rhea laughed softly, recounting a training mishap. Pavel offered gentle praise for everyone's hard work. In that moment, titles and reputations faded. They were a family bound by a common goal: to save lives and restore hope. Outside, the stars shone bright against the velvet sky, promising adventures and tests yet to come, united in purpose and spirit. The Deathworlders prepared to leap across the void and answer the SOS that waited at the galaxy's edge. The Aurora's edge slipped out of hyperspace and entered the colony's star system. Through the bridge viewport, Dr. Amari Das saw swirling clouds of red dust and the battered remains of old mining stations. Her breath caught as she remembered the frantic SOS signals pleading for help. She turned to Pavel, whose strong silhouette was framed by blinking consoles. He nodded once, and the crew sprang into action. Every heart beat faster, yet each person moved with steady purpose, driven by hope more powerful than fear. Lieutenant Miko Tanato led a small scouting team in a sleek skiff across the dusty atmosphere. The ship's engines hummed softly, and a thin layer of dust coated the hull. Below them lay the colony's central habitat, a dome of transparent metal, cracked and scarred from falling debris. Miko squinted as she peered through her visor. Inside, she could make out tiny figures moving like ants, waving for help. Her chest tightened at their vulnerability. She glanced at her squad, each face calm, each hand sure. They were trained for danger, but their mission now was mercy. On the bridge, Sergeant Rhea Volk monitored incoming messages. The colony's leaders had sent coordinates for downed supply shuttles and injured civilians. Rhea's eyes softened as she read each report. She tapped a console, dispatching medical drones to hover above a canyon where a shuttle lay broken. She imagined the frightened families huddled inside, waiting for rescue. She pictured their tears turning to relief when the drones arrived with blankets and healing kits. Her chest warmed with purpose. This was why she chose mercy over harm. Pavel gathered his team in the launch bay. The skiff's ramp lowered with a hiss, and they stepped onto the dusty ground. He looked around at the cracked soil and half-buried machinery. Each step left a print in the red earth. He raised his voice gently but firmly. "Remember, we are here to help. Stay calm, speak kindly, and withdraw from danger when needed." His eyes swept over Dr. Das's calm face, Miko's determined stare, and Rhea's steady hands. He saw trust, their trust in him and in each other. He breathed, deeply anchoring his own resolve. As they moved toward the dome, Dr. Das activated her translator device. It emitted a soft chime as it linked with the colony's comms network. A crackling voice came through the skiff's speakers. "Who are you? Why have you come?" Miko stepped forward, her hand raised in greeting. In clear, gentle tones, she replied, "We are Deathworlders from Earth. We heard your plea. We come to help you." The translator hummed, and the response was immediate: relief, surprise, fear. The colonists' voices trembled as they spoke words of thanks and wonder. Miko felt tears sting her eyes. She swallowed and nodded. "We are here for you." Inside the ruined dome, civilians guided the team through shattered corridors. Light filters through cracks in the ceiling, casting long shadows across broken furniture. Pavel saw a mother cradling her injured child beside a collapsed wall. The boy's face was pale, but his eyes shone with hope when he saw the Deathworlders. Rhea knelt beside them, placing a healing kit on a clean mat. She spoke softly to the child, promising that everything would be all right. The mother's grip on the child loosened, and she offered a trembling smile. In that moment, Pavel felt the true weight of their mission: to turn terror into comfort. Dr. Das moved among small groups, listening to stories of loss and survival. A farmer spoke of losing his herd to sandstorms. An engineer told how he patched the power grid until exhaustion overcame him. Each tale was heavy in the hot air. Dr. Das laid a hand on their shoulders, offering water and words of kindness. She recorded medical needs and emotional concerns in her tablet, ensuring no one would be forgotten. Each entry brought a new spark of hope. It meant another life they could touch, another fear they could ease. Outside the dome, Miko and a team of engineers worked to clear the main supply line. They lifted rubble with drones and manual tools, restoring a path for relief vehicles. Miko tied back her hair as she communicated with the colony's chief engineer. Together, they rerouted power and opened the dome's emergency doors. Fresh air rushed in, carrying the scent of burning fuel and dust. Miko inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of the moment. Around her, Deathworlders and colonists celebrated small victories. Lights flickered on, doors slid open, and frightened faces brightened, the walls of fear began to crumble. As the sun dipped toward distant mountains, the team gathered outside the dome for a moment of rest. The sky glowed orange, and long shadows stretched across the red plain. Pavel looked at his people, exhausted but unbroken, felt pride swell in his chest. They had crossed the void and answered the SOS. They had shown that Deathworlders could be guardians, not just warriors. He raised his voice so they could hear. Tonight we rest. Tomorrow we continue. Together we will heal this world. A cheer rose in the warm air. In that cheer lay every hope for the colony and for Earth's promise to the galaxy, that when darkness falls, humanity's brightest light will guide the way. A low hum of activity filled the dawn air as the Deathworlders prepared to dig deeper into the colony's systems. The morning sun cast long beams through cracks in the dome's ceiling, illuminating swirling dust motes. Dr. Amari Das stood by a cluster of colonists, checking their wounds and offering gentle words. Each face told a story of suffering and hope. She fitted a bandage on a young miner's arm, feeling his pulse steady under her touch. His trembling grip relaxed, and he managed a weak smile. In that moment, Amari understood how small acts of care could heal more than any machine. Outside, Lieutenant Miko Tanato organized a team to repair the colony's water recycler. The ancient device sat half-buried in debris, its pipes bent and valves clogged. Miko knelt beside the main control panel, wiping sweat from her brow as she studied alien glyphs etched into the metal. She tapped her translator app, deciphering instructions for maintaining the system. Technicians worked beside her, following her clear directions. With careful hands, they straightened pipes and replaced broken filters. When water finally gurgled through the lines, a cheer rose from the group. Miko's heart swelled with pride. As she watched fresh water trickle into a waiting tank, Sergeant Ria Volk led a patrol to secure the outer supply depot. As they approached, she noticed strange scorch patterns on storage crates, signs of energy weapons far stronger than the colony's old defenses. She frowned, alerting Pavel through her cum. Moments later, Pavel and Dr. Das joined her there. Faces grim. Pavel crouched beside the scorched metal, examining a charred circuit board. These markings aren't from natural causes, he said quietly. Someone or something attacked before we arrived. The realization spread unease through the team. They had assumed the war machines were gone. Now a new threat lurked in the shadows. Inside the depot, colonists huddled around dwindling supplies. A mother clutched her child, fear in her wide eyes. Ria knelt to reassure them, her voice soft. She offered blankets and ration packs, promising safety. We will guard you, she said. The mother nodded, tears shining. Ria's shoulders shook as she swallowed. She focused on distributing aid, letting action drive out dread. As she moved through the crowd, she caught glimpses of past battles, echoes of chaos replaced now by organized kindness, each grateful. Smile reminded her that mercy could be stronger than any weapon. By midday, dark clouds gathered on the horizon. Sudden dust storm raced across the red plains, its winds howling like angry spirits. Miko ordered her team back to the dome's entrance, guiding them through swirling grit. Visibility dropped to near zero. The skiff's lights pierced the gloom. They struggled against the gale, linking arms to steady each other. When they reached cover, Miko checked every face, relief flooding her when no one was hurt. Tests us too, she said, voice barely audible over the wind. We stand together. Her words carried strength, reminding everyone that unity was their greatest shield. Inside the dome, the storm knocked out a section of power. Lights flickered as systems rebooted. Dr. Das raced to the control room with Pavel at her side, Worked in tandem, she guided his hands to reroute power through auxiliary lines. Sparks flew as cables connected, and then a steady hum filled the air. Generators roared back to life, bathing the hall in warm light. The colonists cheered, relief washing over them like sunlight after rain. Pavel glanced at Amari, gratitude shining in his eyes. She gave a small nod, acknowledging the bond they had formed in crisis. As the storm died down, Pavel convened a meeting with colony leaders in the main hall. He listened as they described repeated skirmishes at the depot and strange sightings of robotic scouts. Their voices trembled with fear and frustration. Pavel stood and spoke with calm authority. "We will uncover who attacked you," he promised. "We will stop them." His words brought murmurs of hope. Ambassador Ortiz translated his vow into the colony's language, ensuring every ear heard the promise. In that moment, the line between Deathworlder and Protector disappeared. That evening, beneath a sky cleared of dust, the team gathered around a holographic map. Dr. Das highlighted the depot and nearby debris fields where enemy traces had been found. Miko traced possible patrol routes for their next mission.
Ow.
Ria loaded non-lethal scanning devices into her pack. Pavel studied each plan, confident in their careful strategy. He looked at his people, not monsters, but heroes of mercy. "Tomorrow we follow the trail," he said softly. Dawn broke over the ruined depot as the Deathworlders prepared to follow the trail of scorched metal and broken circuits. Pavel gathered his strike team in the cool glow of the dome's entrance. Each member checked their non-lethal scanners and protective gear. Q adjusted her translator's frequency, ensuring it would pick up any machine code. Ria tested her pulse blaster's stun settings. Dr. Das packed extra medical supplies for injured colonists they might find. Pavel looked at their determined faces and felt pride swell in his chest. Together, they would face whatever lay ahead. Boarded the skiff and lifted off the red plane, sending toward the satellite debris field where automated scouts had been seen. The ship's engines hummed through broken structures of old mining stations. Dust swirled below like a ghostly sea. Through the viewport, colonists watched, their eyes wide with hope and fear. Pavel offered a reassuring nod. He promised they would bring answers and end the danger. Miko whispered a quiet prayer in her heart, imagining families safe once more. The crew gripped their railings, bracing for the unknown. When they reached the debris field, the skiff hovered amid twisted girders and shattered panels. Miko scanned with her handheld scanner, following bleeps that hinted at hidden power cores. Ria trained her stun rifle on dark shapes that stirred in the shadows. Dr. Das monitored life signs, ready to aid any survivors. Pavel led them carefully through the wreckage, each step echoing in the silent metal. He recalled his own time stranded on a wrecked freighter, saved only by a chance rescue. He vowed this time they would be the rescuers. Deep within the largest hulk, they found a sealed chamber marked with alien glyphs. The door's lock had been forced open, its edges scorched. Pavel crouched to examine the pattern. He tapped his translator. "This is a control node," he said softly. "Someone or something uses it to direct the war machines." Miko ran her fingers along the panel, careful not to trigger any traps. Ria kept watch at the entrance. Dr. Das stood ready with medkit, her calm presence steadying Pavel's nerves. They all felt the weight of the moment. Miko worked quickly to override the lock, her fingers dancing over the controls. Sparks flew, and the door slid open with a groan. Inside, they found a small console surrounded by flickering lights and cables. A faint hum pulsed through the air. Pavel shone his flashlight on the console's screen. Strange symbols scrolled. Like an endless code, Dr. Das gasped softly. "This is an AI core," she whispered. "It's alive." Pavel steadied himself. They were face to face with the enemy's heart. Ria knelt beside a shattered datapad on the floor. She pieced it together, revealing schematics of automated war machines and their targets. Her breath caught as she saw the list of colonies marked for attack. With swift hands, she downloaded the data to her holopad. "They planned this long ago," she said, voice tight with emotion. "We have to stop the AI before more colonies suffer." Her promise echoed through the chamber. Pavel placed a hand on her shoulder, sharing her resolve. Dr. Das approached the console, her medical training replaced by technical focus. She placed gentle hands on its surface, tracing cables with practiced precision. This AI core is vulnerable. Here, she said, pointing to an exposed junction. Ah! If we disable its power supply, it will shut down its network. Pavel nodded. He felt a mixture of fear and hope. They had found the source of the threat, and now they had a way to end it without bloodshed, working together.
The team rerouted power from the AI core into a containment battery. Sparks crackled as the machine's lights dimmed. Miko held her
breath while Ria monitored energy levels. Dr. Das applied a stabilizing pulse to the junction, her hands steady despite the tension. Finally, the hum faded. The console's screen went dark. A hush fell over the chamber. Pavel exhaled slowly, relief washing through him. They had won this battle with mercy and skill. He looked at his team, exhausted but triumphant in new. They had truly lived up to their name as Earth's guardians. Asterisk when the console's lights finally went dark. A hush settled over the debris field. Pavel rested a hand on the cold metal of the container battery that held the AI's power core. His chest rose and fell in deep breaths as relief washed through him. Around him, Miko wiped sweat from her brow, and Dr. Das checked for any remaining power surges. Ria scanned the corridor for hidden alarms. They had won a crucial victory, but none of them forgot the lives that had hung in the balance. In that quiet moment, they felt the weight of every soul still in danger. As they returned to the skiff, the red sky deepened toward dusk. Shadows lengthened across broken machinery, and an uneasy wind stirred the dust. Miko steered them back toward the colony's dome, replaying every detail of the shutdown procedure in her mind. She worried the AI might have backup circuits hidden elsewhere. Dr. Das beside her tapped her translator. Contacting the colonists, "We have the core. We're coming home." The voice on the com crackled with relief. Children and elders had gathered at the dome's entrance, their faces pale but hopeful. Miko felt a surge of tenderness for these people who had welcomed her and her team as friends. At the dome's plaza, colonists lined up with field engineers to install emergency power reroutes and defensive shields. Pavel joined them, offering words of praise and thanks. "Because of you," he said to the chief engineer, "this colony stands strong." The engineer's eyes shone with pride as he shook Pavel's hand. Nearby, Ria directed volunteers in the assembly of non-lethal pulse turrets. Sparks flew as circuits connected, and each time a turret powered on, a cheer rose from the crowd. It was a simple sound, but to Pavel it carried the promise of safety and solidarity. He smiled, feeling more at home among these people than he had on many worlds. Dr. Das set up a field clinic under a battered archway of the dome. She and her medics treated bruises, dehydration, and the shock that still lingered in many hearts. A young woman brought her injured brother, tears in her eyes. Dr. Das knelt beside him, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "You are safe now," she said softly. The brother nodded, voice trembling. "Thank you," he managed. In that exchange, Amari saw the true power of compassion. Each life they healed strengthened the bond between Earth's Deathworlders and this far-flung community. Night fell, and lanterns glowed against the dome's cracked surface. Miko worked alongside colonist technicians to link the new shields into the dome's grid. She explained each step in simple terms, her own fear tempered by gratitude. Every time a shield segment flickered to life, she felt the colony draw closer to safety. Together, human and Deathworlder soldered wires and tightened bolts, their hands moving as one. When the final shield hummed with power, the dome sighed in relief. Miko allowed herself a small laugh, and the colonists around her joined in. Darkness would come, but they would face it together. In the council chamber beneath the dome, Pavel and Ambassador Ortiz stood before the colony's leaders. Light from the shields cast soft patterns on the walls. Celine spoke first, telling the colonists of Earth's pledge to protect them and restore their world. Then Pavel added, "We are honored by your courage. We will stand with you until every Threat has passed. Heads nodded and eyes glistened with hope. Pavel felt a swell of emotion. He had once been judged by fearsome rumors, but now these people trusted him, promised himself he would never let them down. Just before midnight, alarms sounded. The final wave of rogue war machines had detected the colony's defenses. Outside, the dome glowing red sensors picked up small spider-like drones creeping across the plain. Miko, Rhea, and a team of volunteers raced to the turret platforms. Rhea loaded her stun rifle and Miko positioned the scout drones for targeting assistance. Dr. Das stayed by the clinic, ready for any casualties. Pavel stood at the dome's gate, his silhouette strong against the shield's light, raised his voice to call out instructions with calm urgency. As the first wave of machines crawled into range, Rhea fired a pulse blast that rippled through a group of 3. They froze, their metal limbs locked mid-stride. Volunteer engineers hurried forward to capture them, binding cables around their joints. Miko's drones swooped in, emitting electromagnetic bursts that disabled more machines without damaging their hulls. The colonists, young and old, cheered as each automaton fell silent. When the last rogue drone collapsed under a gentle net, the field lay still. No one had died. Now, no one had been harmed beyond repair. In the hush that followed, Pavel walked among the fallen machines, touching their cold shells with respect. "We learn from this," he said to his team. "We will study their design and protect other colonies from harm." Around him, faces shone with triumph and relief. Dr. Dawes knelt to examine one of the machine's data ports, hoping to glean more clues. Miko and Rhea stood close by, proud and weary. At that shared moment, they knew they had changed the galaxy's view of Deathworlders forever. As dawn's pale light crept over the horizon, the colony stirred to life once more. Children laughed at the restored fountains of clean water. Farmers checked their fields under renewed power. Engineers repaired damaged modules. Pavel surveyed it all, heart filled with hope. The mission had challenged them, tested their mercy and strength, and now they stood victorious through compassion and unity. Earth's Deathworlders had unleashed their greatest force, not destruction, but humanity's unbreakable spirit. And as the colony awakened, as morning light filtered through the repaired dome, the colony stirred with new hope. Pavel walked through the central plaza, watching families gather fresh food from restored hydroponic gardens. Children chased one another around a fountain that now sparkled under clean water. Their laughter rang clear and bright, a reminder of all they had fought to protect. Pavel paused to greet a group of farmers who offered him baskets of ripe fruit as thanks. He accepted with a humble nod. Feeling warmth in his chest, this simple gift spoke louder than any medal could. Lieutenant Miko Tanato joined Dr. Amari Das at the field clinic, where healing continued even after the last machines fell silent. The young engineer lay on a cot, his arm wrapped in bandages. Miko knelt beside him, adjusting his sling and offering a gentle smile. The engineer's eyes met hers, filled with gratitude. "Because of you, I live to build again," he said softly. Miko's own eyes glistened. She placed a hand over his to steady him. Each life saved was a victory, each grateful word a bond, too strong to break. Sergeant Rhea Volk stood near the dome's entrance, overseeing training for local volunteers. Today, they practiced assembling pulse turrets and operating non-lethal drones under her guidance. She watched a young woman carefully load nets into a drone bay, her hands steady despite her nervousness. When the drone lifted off and returned safely, the volunteer beamed. Rhea felt a swell of pride, remembering her own first training day and the fear she had overcome. She called out encouragement, her voice warm and strong. "Well done. You. Keep your home safe now." Inside the council chamber, Ambassador Selene Ortiz met with colony leaders to discuss long-term recovery. Maps and reports covered the walls as they planned to restore power, rebuild homes, and reopen trade routes. Selene listened closely, translating Earth's offers of aid into the colony's tongue. She promised teams of engineers, doctors, and teachers to help them rebuild stronger than before. When the leaders asked about the Deathworlders, Pavel entered the room quietly, spoke of his team's commitment to peace, of their vow to protect life wherever it was threatened. His words brought nods of respect and tears of relief. In that moment, the council recognized them not as outsiders, but as trusted friends. That afternoon, Pavel and his squad gathered in a quiet courtyard beneath flowering vines that colonists had planted since their rescue. The air smelled of fresh blossoms and new beginnings. Dr. Dawes handed each team member a small seedling, a gift from the colony's gardeners. "Plant this somewhere in your home world," she said softly. "Let it grow as a living reminder of this place." Pavel held the tiny plant gently, feeling its fragile leaves brush his fingers. He imagined forests on Earth filled with these seedlings, each one a symbol of unity between worlds. Miko tucked her seedling into a pot filled with red soil, marking the spot beside her bunk. She looked forward to tending it and remembering the faces she had helped save. Rhea placed hers near her weapons rack, a sign that true strength lay in mercy and life. Dr. Dawes carried hers to the medbay window, where she would watch it grow as she healed others. Pavel placed his on the bridge of the Aurora's edge, close to the helm. When hyperspace lights glowed overhead, the plant would remind him why he flew into danger. As dusk fell, the team assembled by the dome's outer wall to witness the colony's first sunlight festival since the attacks. Colored lanterns lined the pathways, and musicians played gentle melodies on alien instruments. Colonists and Deathworlders danced together under twin moons, their steps echoing joy and relief. Pavel joined hands with Miko, Rhea, and Dr. Dawes, spinning in time with the music. Laughter and tears mingled in the cool night air. In that circle of light and song, the line between rescuer and rescued disappeared entirely. When the final song ended, Pavel looked up at the stars above the dome. He felt hope stronger than any fear he had known. The SOS that had launched this mission now lay answered, its promise fulfilled. The colony would heal and thrive, and Earth's Deathworlders would carry their story across the galaxy. As he turned toward his team, Pavel spoke softly. "We came here as strangers. We leave as family." Around him, nods and smiles affirmed the bond they had forged. In that moment, humanity's greatest triumph shone brightest: unity born from compassion, resilience born from mercy, peace forged in the heart of darkness. Asterisk, when the dawn light finally broke over the restored colony, its gentle glow seeped through the transparent dome, painting the halls in soft gold. Commander Pavel Rourke stood at the airlock of the Aurora's edge, watching as colonists and Deathworlders exchanged final farewells. Each handshake, each embrace, carried the weight of shared trials and hard-won trust. Pavel felt a quiet joy in his chest. They had not only saved lives, but forged a bond that would last across light years. Lieutenant Miko Tanato carried her small potted seedling to the ship's cargo hold, where every team member's gift had been gathered. She arranged them in neat rows by the viewport. Below, the colony's fields bloomed in riotous color, a testament to resilience. Miko's eyes glistened as she recalled the miners trapped under rubble and the children who slept without fear. She whispered, "Grow well, little trees, grow well." Each sapling held a memory, a promise that Earth's Deathworlders would bear this hope to new worlds. Sergeant Rhea Voke checked the non-lethal pulse turrets one last time, making sure each drone and blaster was secure for the journey ahead. She paused to look back at the colony's entrance. A council member handed her a handmade flag woven from local fibers and Earth's fabric. Rhea accepted it with a reverent nod. It fluttered gently in her hands, a symbol of unity between two peoples. She tucked it into her pack, proud to carry it forward as a reminder that mercy could be stronger than any weapon. Dr. Amari Das lingered by the medbay door, bidding farewell to the last of her patients. A young engineer with a healed leg handed her a carved wooden token. It bore the colony's symbol, a circle of stars around an open hand. Amari held it close, her throat tight with emotion. She thought of the nights spent soothing tear-streaked faces and the mornings waking too soft. Smiles. "Thank you for your kindness," the engineer said. Amari bowed her head, whispering, "Thank you for your courage." Ambassador Celine Ortiz joined Pavel on the bridge as the Aurora's edge powered up. The console lights flickered, and the soft hum of the engines rose. Celine looked out at the colony one last time, its dome glowing like a jewel amid red plains. "They will remember us," she said quietly. Pavel placed a hand on her shoulder. "We will return if they need us," he promised. Celine smiled, confident in the vow that had carried them through darkness. Earth's Deathworlders answered. Every SOS as the ship lifted off, colonists gathered in the plaza and waved. Miko pressed her hand to the viewport, catching the eye of a young girl who held a handful of wildflowers. The girl's bright smile warmed Miko's heart. Rhea saluted the crowd, and they cheered in return. Dr. Das blinked back tears as the ground fell away. Pavel guided the ship into orbit, his gaze fixed on the planet that had become more than just a mission. It was a home they had saved. In the quiet hum of hyperspace, the team gathered in the briefing room. Pavel unrolled a star chart showing the location of other SOS signals across the sector. Each marked a place in need: a stranded research station, a fleet of refugee ships, a hidden outpost besieged by rogue machines. Miko traced a path to the nearest call. Rhea ran diagnostics on their non-lethal arsenal. Amari updated medical supplies for long missions. Celine prepared diplomatic briefs. Together they formed a plan that would carry Earth's mercy to the farthest reaches. Pavel stood before his crew, pride shining in his eyes. "We have shown that Deathworlders are not merciless killers," he began. "We are protectors of life. We are a force for hope." His voice was steady, full of conviction. The team nodded, united by purpose. They had faced fear, storm, and Steeland, emerged not only victorious, but kinder and stronger. Each of them felt that same spark of hope that had driven them to answer the first SOS. In the ship's mess hall, they shared a simple meal of stew and bread. Laughter bubbled up as they recalled moments of triumph and surprise. Miko teased Rhea about her first stun shot. Mari teased Pavel about his serious face in every photo. Celine raised a glass of synthesized fruit juice, proposing a toast to life, to unity, and to the light we carry across the stars. The crew echoed her words. They savored the warmth and camaraderie that came after hardship. Later, Pavel stood alone at the helm, watching hyperspace streak by. He thought of the colony's sunrise, the children's laughter, and the silent engines in the debris field. He felt a deep peace. He had once believed the Deathworlder name was a burden. He knew it was a beacon. As long as they stood for mercy, that name would shine with honor. Before sleep claimed him, Pavel recorded a message for Earth's archives. "We answered an SOS and found more than a mission. We found friendship, courage, and hope. Let this record remind us that in the darkest reaches, kindness is the greatest power." He ended the transmission with a soft smile. The crew would rest soon, but their journey had only just begun. So the Aurora's edge sailed onward through the gentle waves of hyperspace. Ahead lay distant stars and unheard pleas. But Earth's Deathworlders were ready. They carried the light of hope in every heart, and the promise that wherever darkness,